People always ask me if I like Jeeps. No! Welcome back to the Skilled Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today, a quick look at my latest project, a mini-me. Yes, this is a replica of my full-size Jeep Wrangler Rubicon JL. And I've had my full-size daily one-to-one driver for just over 2 years, and I've only put 15,000 kilometers on it. A few hundred of those kilometers are off-road, so I feel like I'm a true Jeeper. This is a recreation of that full-size daily one-to-one, and I've always kind of wanted to have my own version of my own truck. First things first, it's not an SCX-10.3. It looks like it because it's using the body from one, but that's where the similarities end. This is a Vanquish VS4 10 chassis kit underneath, and it's the full package. It's everything from the VS4 10 with that VFD transmission installed. Before we get too deep into the chassis, let's talk about the whole truck as a whole. This is using the SCX-10.3 JL body. All of the fenders and all of the exterior elements are from the axial body. I've mixed up my own paint color. I used Proline paints. After masking the body, I sprayed the entire interior with Tamiya PS Flat Clear, and that's to give the Proline paint something to stick to. I've found that if you just spray the Proline paint without any sort of prep, it doesn't really stick very well, and it'll scrape off quite easily. So by starting with that Tamiya paint, I do give myself a nice base coat with which this Proline paint will adhere better. In order to mix this perfect Sting Gray, and this is Sting Gray in all of its glory, I used Proline Black, Proline White. I also added a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow to help add to that actual look. The real Sting Gray is sort of a color changing in the sun, so I wanted to make sure I got as close as possible. And this is a pretty good recreation. I actually went outside and mixed the paint on the hood of the Jeep to make sure I got the perfect color. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think it looks really good, and it's a nice representation of Sting Gray and not something you can get off the shelf. So I feel like I've got a pretty unique build already. There is this vinyl decal on the front of my truck, and I definitely wanted to recreate it on the little guy. There's also some of these hood mounts for the actual windshield if you were to turn that down. That's what those are there for. I just printed those out on my 3D printer and glued them on with some shoe goo. I've also added Knight Custom's inner grille piece. This makes the grille of the JL look a lot more realistic. Definitely a part I would recommend, and I'll be sure to put links down below to all of these products in all the places where you can get them so you can create your own mini-me. Otherwise, it's a pretty stock body. I will be definitely adding some things to it. Some of the things that I wanted to make sure I did properly in order to get this to look as realistic to the real thing as possible. The inside of these headlight buckets, they actually are gunmetal. And so I sprayed those on the outside in order to make sure it actually looked like the real truck. The big thing about getting this body to fit really well on the VS4 10 chassis are the Knight Customs custom mounts. These are specifically for the axial SCX-10.3 JL body, and they are a perfect fit for the VS4 10. It's really the best way to get this body on here, and I'm going to show that to you right now. There's the custom forward front mounts. These are just 3D printed at home. Knight Customs, James Knight, offers all of these parts through either Shapeways or his My Mini Factory. You can get him from either place. I chose My Mini Factory because I have a 3D printer at home. Super easy for me to print at home. That's what I did. You can also get inner fenders that match the contours of that JL body from Axial that fit perfectly on the VS4 10. They are a really great addition, cleans everything up, and hides all of the electronics on the inside of the chassis. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the VS4 10 and how versatile this chassis kit is. I really like this chassis. I've built a number of trucks. I've got the VS4 10 Pro. I had the VS4 10 Origin, which I still have, and is now becoming that Willys behind me. I've also built a Comanche, another Jeep, on the VS410 chassis kit. What else? I think that's it. That's a lot of VS410s, if I'm honest, and this one included. Yet another Jeep. Shocker. Really super rigid. One of the strongest chassis out there, and one of the best layouts as well, with the motor position very low on the chassis. As you can see, it sits right down there. Speaking of, I decided to go with a Castle system for this truck, Mamba X, and a 1900 kV brushless slate motor. All paired up with a set of Power Hobby 14 volt direct wire servo. Offers something in the neighborhood of like 900 ounce-inches of torque, I think. 900 ounce-inches of torque on this servo at 14 volts, so you can direct wire it to a 3S or 4S battery, which is crazy. Anyway, that's all wired in there. I also included a Power Hobby 770 ounce-inch torque winch on this truck as well, because there is a space for it, so why not include it? I decided to go with a set of Curry straight axles. Another reason I wanted to go to a straight axle was for realism. This truck is not on portals in real life, so I wanted to make sure I was not running portals on this one either. Having those Currys underneath are a huge change. It really changes the whole look of the truck, and in my opinion makes it a lot more realistic. To get the ride height that I'm achieving, to very stock ride height for a Wrangler Rubicon, I went with 80 mil incision shocks. These are really great shocks built from the factory. So all you have to do is fill them with oil. I filled them with 60 weight oil to get them to sit nice and low and have a good amount of rebound. To add to the realism and to get this truck as close as possible to the real thing, I went with CC Hand's new bumpers. This is a SLS nylon printed sheath that goes over an aluminum structure that bolts directly into the existing mount holes for a bumper on the front of the VS4. It's an exact reproduction of the original steel bumper that I have on my truck too. No winch currently in my real truck, so no winch in here either. This bull bar is an additional Mopar accessory. I did put one on order so I can have it match my little truck. I also added some 3D printed panels that look like the Baja Designs Squadron Sports that I have as fog lamps in my truck. And I also painted the lenses yellow to match. To match the front bumper, the rear steel bumper is on there as well. I don't have license plates yet, but I have some on order, and obviously there will be an update video that will go with this one as this truck progresses because there's no interior yet. And I haven't decided. That's actually something you can help me with. Should I go with the standard Lexan interior, or should I go full crazy and build a full styrene and 3D printed option that's more like the actual truck? Put your comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of them as I can. And if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more content like this, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. One thing I think that really sells the look of this truck are the wheels and tires. These are exact replicas of what I've got on my truck, BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain TAs with the stock wheel. I found these wheels on AliExpress, and I will try to find a link and put it in the description below. And while these do scale out to be a little bit larger than the 33s I've got on my truck, I figured maybe someday I'll go to 35s and keep the KO2s, and then it'll be totally realistic. One other thing I'm really thrilled about is the track width. These tires tuck. There is not a lot of overhang, and it just kind of feels realistic. This is about as much wheel and tire that sticks out on the real thing. And that was the goal. Let's make this as real as possible. And as things change over time with the real truck, now I've got a platform on which to change them on a tiny truck. And I think that's part of the joy of this hobby, is being able to go outside and go, what can I do differently here? What do I need to change? What needs to be closer to that? It's amazing. It's really cool to have something small on your desk that you can go, yep, that's what the big one looks like. We've got a lot more goodies on the way to make this even closer to the full size, and I can't wait to share those things with you, so I hope you'll stay tuned for the next episode. Also, to add to the replica kind of nature of this build, I needed to come up with some good looking sliders. This is a 3D printed mount that I did that just mounts to the direct under part of the chassis where the skids are already. And they're just it's just a simple kind of design, but matches the steel sliders that I have on my real truck. So yeah, that's essentially where we're at with this Mini-Me. It's really close to the actual truck. I still want to do the tint on the rear windows and the back window there, so that matches. License plates, we need a spare on there, and I've got an extra set of wheels and tires on the way to make that happen. Yes, I had to buy 4 wheels in order to get a spare. Maybe there's somebody out there who needs 3 wheels. So we'll have the spare mount done. We do need an antenna, and then that's about it. I think we're pretty close to the actual truck, which is pretty amazing, I must say. It's really all thanks to Knight Customs and Vanquish Products for making 2 really amazing sets of products. Knight Customs, for all of these mounts, which make this vehicle possible, still remains hidden, so you can have a nice looking scale realistic truck without any body posts poking through, which I think is killer, obviously. And Vanquish Products for making a really great versatile chassis that offers a lot of customization possibilities. If you've got any tips on any things that you think I might have missed on the full size that I can recreate on the small size, by all means, post your comments down below. There will be a follow-up on this build. We'll do a running video and we'll get it outside, hopefully before the snow starts flying. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.